Fine, chalo, we'll start. Now budget receipt part is over. Under budget receipt, we saw capital receipt and revenue receipt. We understood everything in a very detailed manner. Now we will be starting with budget expenditure. Okay, receipt part of the government is been done. Both the forms of receipt has been done. Now here comes the budget expenditure of the government, wherein expenditure means nothing but the expenses of the government. The government also does the expenditure the way how government receives income. In the same way, government is also going to do the expenditure. The expenditure of the government. Learning about the expenditure of the government is also important equally. So now budget expenditure are also of two types: revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Fine. If you remember, budget receipt was of two types: revenue receipt and capital receipt. Same way, expenditure is also of two types: revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. First, we are going to start with revenue expenditure. Revenue expenditure is the same almost like how revenue receipt is. So it refers to the expenditure which neither create any assets nor causes reduction in the liability of the government. All the kinds of expenses done by the government which is not going to create any asset, neither it is going to reduce any liability. Those kind of expenses are called as revenue expenditure. Listen to it very carefully once more. All the expenses done by the government which does not create any assets, neither it reduces any. Those kind of expenses done by the government are called as revenue expenditure. It is recurring in nature. So revenue expenditure are the form or the type of expenditure which are going to be continuous, recurring or repetitive in nature. It takes place very frequently. It is incurred on normal functioning of the government and the provision for various services. So these kind of expenses are usually created for the daily functioning or the regular functioning of the government and for the various services which are being provided by the government. Examples are payment of salaries. All those people who work with government receive salary. So these salaries received by them is going to be the part of revenue expenditure. Pensions, government give pensions to the old age people. So anybody has any idea what do we mean by pension? Ever you all have heard about it? No? So see, when there are government employees, when we work for the government organizations or government companies, once we get retired or once we leave that job, yes, very good Gokul, very good. So after the retirement, government is going to pay you some kind of money on monthly basis, even though at present you are not giving them any services. Still they will give you pension. So this pension is also going to be the part of expenditure, interest, expenditure on administrative services, defense services, health services, grants to state are all the expenses, examples of revenue expenditure. An expenditure is a revenue expenditure if it satisfies the following two essential conditions. So to call any expenditure as a revenue expenditure, it needs to again follow or satisfy two conditions. First, the expenditure must not create an asset for the government. Any expenditure which creates government will not be the type of revenue expenditure. So the expenditure done by the government which will not create any asset for the government is called as revenue expenditure. Example, payment of salaries or pension is revenue expenditure as it does not as it does not create any assets. So of course, when government gives salaries to its employees or when government gives pension to the people who had worked for them are the types of revenue expenditure, because these expenditures of the government are not going to create any kind of assets. So however, the amount spent on construction of metro is not a revenue expenditure as it leads to the creation of asset. So any expenditure done by the government for constructing bridge, for constructing metro, trains, railways, transportation, dams, all these kind of government expenditure are not going to be the part of revenue expenditure, because all these are the assets for the government. And what did we said? Revenue expenditures are those kind of expenditures of the government which will not create any kind of assets. Okay. So what will be the example of revenue expenditure? Payment of salaries to the government employees, pension given to the ex-government employees, so on. Constructing a bridge, constructing railways, transportation, construction of road, all these will be not the part of revenue expenditure, because revenue expenditures are the kind of expenditures which should not create any kind of assets, and bridges, dams, roads are the part of assets. Second, expenditure must not cause decrease in any liability. So any expenditure done by the government should not reduce or decrease the liability of the government. Then only that expenditure will be called as a revenue expenditure. Example, repayment of borrowing is not a revenue expenditure because it will lead to reduction in the liability of the government. So if we talk about repayment of borrowing, we already know repayment of borrowing will reduce the assets of the reduce the liability of the government. So reduction in liability government is the revenue expenditure. So revenue expenditure, two conditions: it should not create those kind of expenditures which should not create any asset for the government. Secondly, it's expenditure which does not reduces the liability of the government. Next is capital expenditure. So expenditure refers to the expenditure which either creates asset or causes reduction in the liabilities of the government. So here also the concept remains the same how is it was under capital receipt. It's just that instead of receipts we are going to talk about the expenses or the expenditure. So any expenditure which can either create assets or which can either reduces the liability is called as capital expenditure. It is non-recurring in nature. Revenue expenditures are recurring in nature, which are repetitive in nature, which takes place very frequently, very regularly. Whereas this capital expenditure are non-recurring in nature, non-repetitive. They do not take place so frequently. It adds to capital stock of the economy and its productivity through expenditure on long period developments like metro or flyover. So it is going to add on to the capital stock. Capital stock means what? It increases your assets. Okay, it is going to increase your asset and the assets are going to be in long term format. Okay, long term format means once government does the expenditure on those assets, it is going to be there for long term. For example, making a flyover, making railway stations, trains, it is a long period development programs. You cannot do it very quickly in a shorter period of time. In 2 months or 3 months, you cannot construct a bridge. It is going to take long period development and it is a productive activity and it is going to increase the capital stock of the government. Example, loan to states and union territories, if you give loan to the state or to the union territories, expenditure on building roads, flyover, factories, purchase of machinery, repayment of borrowings. All of these things are going to create assets or reduce the liability. An expenditure to be called as a capital expenditure needs to satisfy any one of the following two conditions. First condition, the expenditure must create an asset for the government. So, first condition of capital expenditure is it should create an asset for the government. Example, construction of metro is a capital expenditure as it is going to lead in creating the asset. So, capital expenditures are the expenditures which should create assets for the government. Example, construction of metro, construction of bridge, construction of railways. All of these things can be the example because it is going to increase the capital stock of the government. Capital stock, capital asset, fixed assets. Purchase of machinery. All of these things are going to increase the assets of the government, and this is what the first condition says, that any expenditure to be called as a capital expenditure has to satisfy this condition, and the condition is that expenditure should create an asset for the government. Second, expenditure must cause a decrease in the liability. Any expenditure done by the government should decrease the liability of the government. Only then that expenditure will be called as a capital expenditure. Example, repayment of borrowing is a capital expenditure as it is going to lead to a reduction in the liability of the government. So if say suppose any government has taken loan, and if government is doing the repayment of that borrowing or repayment of that loan, then that repayment of loan or repayment of borrowing is going to reduce the liability of the government, right? When you do repayment of loan, it will reduce the liability of the government. So if anything, any expenditure which is reducing the liability of the government will be called as a capital expenditure. More examples, payment of salary, interest or pension is not a capital expenditure as it neither creates assets nor reduces liability. Right now we saw payment done to the government employees, salaries done to the government employees, interest paid by government, pensions given by the government to ex-employees. All of these things will be the part of capital expenditure, not the part of capital expenditure, but the part of revenue expenditure, because it does not create any assets for the government, neither it reduces any liability for the government. So these will be the example of revenue expenditure. Capital expenditure ka example is repayment of borrowing, because repayment of borrowing reduces the liability for the government. Now, how to classify the expenditure as a revenue expenditure or capital expenditure? Right now we saw. Again, you can take the same tips. Revenue expenditure, RENCEC. Revenue expenditure neither creates liability for the government nor reduces the assets of the government. Capital expenditure either creates liability to the government or either reduces the asset of the government. So an expenditure is a capital expenditure if it creates an asset or reduces the liability. Okay? Any expenditure which create assets or reduces liability will be called as a capital expenditure. And the expenditure is a revenue expenditure if it neither creates any assets nor it reduces any liability. So this is the thing which you can all remember in short form. Okay. So while revision also, it will be very easy. RE, revenue expenditure. N is for neither. Revenue expenditure neither creates any assets, neither reduces any liability. CE is for capital expenditure. Small e over here is for your either. So capital expenditure will increase the assets, either it will reduce the liability of the government. Fine. Now you have to understand or categorize that which is a revenue expenditure, which is a capital expenditure. First is subsidies. So now to answer, by now you all have seen. So now I'm not asking you as a question. So subsidies are the discounts given by the government. Yes, given by the government. So, and we know that the discount given by the government is of course going to be the expenditure for the government, because the extra money will be paid by the government. So when government is giving discount to the people, that discount is an expenditure for the government. Now, which kind of expenditure is it going to be? Is it going to be a revenue expenditure, or is it going to be a capital expenditure? So discount given by the government is going to be a revenue expenditure, because it will neither create any asset. By doing this expenditure, government is not going to create any assets for itself, neither it is going to reduce any liability for itself. So any expenditure which neither creates assets, neither reduces liability is the type of revenue expenditure. So subsidies or discounts given by the government to the people is going to be a revenue expenditure. I hope you all are understanding what all things are going on. If there is any doubt, confusion, stop me and ask me there and there itself. Receipt part is already over. Under receipt, we had two headings: capital receipt, revenue receipt. Already done. We started with expenditure part. Under expenditure also, we have two types: revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. So we had already started with revenue expenditure. Now next one, defense capital equipment purchased from Germany. It's an expense for the government. Identify, is it a revenue expenditure or is it a capital expenditure for the government? Tell me quickly. Okay. So defense capital equipment purchased from Germany, it is going to be a capital expenditure, because it is going to create the asset for the government. Government is purchasing equipments from the Germany, and equipments are the assets for us. So this expenditure is going to create asset, and that is why it is going to be a capital expenditure. Next, grants given to the state government. Grants means nothing but gifts. So grants or gifts given to the state government. Okay. Fine. So let us see the answer. It is going to be a revenue expenditure. Grants are nothing but the gifts for the government. So revenue expenditure will neither create gifts given to by the state government, will not create any asset, neither it will create reduce any liability. anything which neither creates assets nor reduces the liability is going to be called as revenue expenditure. Fine. Few more things, few more such kind of transactions I will upload it so that you will get more clear idea. See, these are very important. Huh? Under every transaction, they have also mentioned that in which year that particular question was asked. I'm giving you all 5 minutes. Read the transactions. There are spelling mistakes, but just ignore it. You all can understand it. Read everything properly. 5 minutes I'll be giving you all. And then if there is any doubt, you all can ask me. Done? All of you? Any doubt in any of the point? 7 points. 7 points explained. Seventh one is not answered, I guess. But you all can give answer, right? So tell me, expenditure on a building of a bridge, is it going to be a revenue expenditure or is it going to be a capital expenditure? Capital expenditure, correct? Constructing a bridge is going to be a capital expenditure because it creates assets for the government. Anything which creates asset is going to be a capital expenditure. Good. Now, last means as of for now, last one more topic is left: measures to correct the budget. That we will be completing in the next session. For that, I'll take next session and that particular topic and numerical question. But as of for now, let us discuss one small thing which is left. So as we said that now we were doing budget expenditure, right? And under budget expenditure, it is divided into two types, that is revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. We understood what is revenue expenditure, what is capital expenditure, the examples of it, everything we saw. Then I said that there are types, that is plan revenue expenditure and non-plan revenue expenditure. Here also we have plan capital expenditure and non-plan. So let me just give you a small brief about this. With the name itself, plan, we understand what is plan. All those revenue expenditures which are planned by the government are called as planned revenue expenditure. Whereas all those expenses which are not planned by the government, they are coming in an uncertain way, in a not planned way, those kind of revenue expenditures will be called as a non-planned revenue expenditure. Same way, all the capital expenditures which are planned, called as capital expenditure, and non-planned are the types of capital expenditure which are not properly planned by the government. So coming back to the planned revenue expenditure, it is nothing but it relates with the 5-year plans, and it gives the assistance for the state and union territory, like all the expenditure on, say suppose, all the expenses done on health, education, then law and order. All of these are the examples of your planned expenditure. That means these are the expenditures which government has already planned, that okay, this time we are going to do the expenses on health of the people, education of the people, law and order, compliances on those things. So these are the part of your planned expenditure. Non-planned means it basically going to cover a vast range of general economic and social services of the government. That means those expenses of the government which government is going to do for the social services of the people. For say suppose there are people who have gone through bad earthquake, victims of earthquake, or people who have expenditure on the relief of victims of earthquake, flood, any expenditure done by the government because of any natural calamity, be it be flood, be it be earthquake, be it be pandemics, epidemics, all of these things are going to be a non-planned, because these are the things which occurs very certainly, right? We don't predict. So government has to do the expenditure on these things. So these kind of revenue expenditures are going to be coming under non-planned revenue expenditure. Now talking about capital expenditure, again under capital expenditure we have planned capital expenditure and non-planned. So planned capital expenditure means these are the things wherein we are going to plan, basically again related to the upcoming expenditures of the government, giving assistance or giving a support to the state government and central government. State government and union territory government or district government or local government, any help needed to your union government, union territory government or union territory, central or state government or district or local government. And non-planned capital expenditure means expenditure which are not related to these planned things. Again, these are done for the welfare of the people. These are the expenditures which will be done for the welfare of the people. So this is what the small part was remaining. Budget expenditure, revenue expenditure, capital expenditure, revenue expenditure, planned revenue, non-planned, planned capital, non-planned capital. Fine. So today basically we have completed very important things. We have already completed I had divided into two parts: budget receipts and budget expenditure. Under budget receipt, we had studied about revenue receipts and capital receipts. Basically, we have bifurcated between receipts and expenditure. Here also we have studied about revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Okay. So this is all the topics we have completed today. So basically your components of budget topic has been done today. Last class we had already done revenue receipts. Today we did capital receipt, revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Fine. This much has been done. Last topic from the chapter is left out. That is your measures of government deficit. If what all measures you have to take, what are the different types of deficits, primary, fiscal and all. So that small part is remaining. With that, we will be also seeing few numerical questions from this particular chapter. Then we will be finally done with this chapter. Fine. So now it is all your task to also once again go through your NCRT book, through your Sandeep Girl book. If you feel there is any topic which is left out, two things any which ways it is left out: measures of government deficit and numericals. But apart from that, if you feel from the entire chapter any topic, any concept has been remaining, or you have doubt in any of the concept, then in next class you all can get it. And let me know if there is any doubt from today's session. Anything you all didn't understood or have any doubt in from today's part. Capital receipt, revenue expenditure, capital expenditure. Revenue receipts. Very important part from this particular chapter. Yes, tell me if you have any doubt. If there is anything which you all have not understood. Flow chart. Remember the flow chart which we have done. Starting mein only I have drawn that flow chart, right? Components of budget. Yes, Gokul, I can see your chats. But it would be better if you all speak up with your mouth, right? God has given us mouth to speak. We are all now very much tech savvy. We like chatting. We don't like speaking. We become very lazy. Is it so? Not kind of. It is laziness. What if I also start teaching on chat box? Interesting idea. Cool idea. Let me also do that, no? Why should I give pain to my mouth by constantly speaking for 2 hours? You all don't have to. You all have to be acting like lazy people. Why you also become so tired? By just studying. I don't think anybody is helping or doing any work of house. No help, no contribution to your mothers or even maintaining your things. I don't think so anybody is doing that. Am I right? Is my thinking right? No? Sadhana does? Gokul, you do? That's quite shocking. Girls still I can expect a little bit. Boys? Actually, you don't do. Okay, you are just correcting yourself so quickly. No, I don't do, so that I should not misinterpret that Gokul does the work. Is it training over there? No, not yet. In Mumbai, there are good showers, very nice rain. The climate is very good, weather is very good. Acha, it's still cloudy, so it will be coming in few days. Climate is good, but no rain. Okay, here we have good rains, very nice rains. Okay, chalo then, we'll wind up for today. Or do you all want to study more? Sadhna, you are saying no, I expected yes from you. Gokul directly says thank you, ma'am. Very funny, Gokul. Huh? Thank you, miss. Let's wind up now, na Gokul? He doesn't want to extend. Done for Tanushree, good night. My God. Look at you all. Huh? We were in 12th standard, when we used to go for tuitions for accountancy, for economics. Let's exclude BST, business studies, but for accountancy and economics, we used to be very eager and curious to study, because every time there was something new which used to come up. For accountancy, I remember we in our class, we all with friends, and we all used to compete with each other who will get the sum tallied first. That was the craze which we had. And now look at you all. You are so tired. Here is boring. Why? It's so good. See, budget, expenditure, capital receipt. You get to study so much. I love making handwritten notes by myself. And handwritten notes can be made only in theory subjects. So I just love theory subjects because you can make notes of yourself. And not big, lengthy, descriptive notes. Short forms, like how I say, this increases, that decreases, this is increasing, this is also increasing, this is the flow chart, this is what happens, this increases, then this increases, then this is it. That is how it becomes interesting. If you study the theoretical part, then it is going to be boring only. But if you prepare notes and shortcuts from those notes, it becomes a little bit easier. And I feel 12th economics is much more better as compared to 11th economics. And now you are saying it boring to macro. What are you going to do in IED? Indian economy though is more of a completely theory. So IED is IED interesting for anyone? Anybody who feels IED is interesting? If in school they have probably started, right? Here though we haven't started. No? Before starting only this is yours condition is. So how do you want to study IED? How should we make it interesting? Acha, Dhanush is just sleeping in class. That is nice. Good progress. Good work. All my girls are becoming lazy. Huh? I thought my girls are active and energetic. I'm not talking about boys, but my girls at least. So we'll do something. We'll find something, some interactive way to study IED. If you all also have any idea that how can we do that subject, then you all come. Because see, what we can do, yes, Sadhana, it's history, dear. You can't do anything of it. But yes, one thing can be done. We can make something, come up with some new ideas to study those chapters. Now, I had one idea in my mind, but I don't think so it will work properly. I wanted to divide the topics amongst you all, and then you all come up with the innovative things, be a PPT, be if you want to make a PowerPoint. I know you will not be having that much of time, but still if you all get time, if you all want to do it something like that, then that can be done. Or else I know in ID you all are definitely going to sleep, and that is what I don't want. Fine. Okay, so you all also think about something new. I will also think, and then we'll come up and meet in the next session and talk about our ideas how to study IED. Fine.